Hello, buddy. Monja's here too. I'm always on the wrong side, but he's here too, wants to be part of this conversation with you all. I am so excited because this week it kicks off our Create with Confidence Challenge. I can't believe it's already here. We've been working so hard on this as a team to bring content to help you bust through fear. Because what I've noticed after working with a lot of different entrepreneurs over this past year and beyond, but especially this year, I've been really focused on this concept of fear and holding ourselves back from the things that we really want to create in our lives. And I've done focus groups and one-on-one calls with people and coaching calls, all with the purpose of digging deeper into this idea. I've basically put on my researcher hat and have asked myself, why do we hold ourselves back in fear from the things that we say we want to do? And so this Create with Challenge is all about examining where that fear comes from. Why do we feel that way? What is the thing that we really want to be creating in our lives and in our businesses? And then equipping you with tools and inner work so that you can actually go forth and create without the fear weighing you down from doing the things that you really want to do. So today's the first day of the Create with Confidence Challenge. And I'm going to be doing these live streams every single day for the next 5 days. So Monday through Friday. And got a little something in my throat. And each day we're going to be covering a different topic. Now, this is the only one that I'm going to be doing on all of my public pages too. The other 4 live streams that I'm going to be doing for the Create with Confidence Challenge are only going to be happening inside of my private free Facebook community, Limitless Entrepreneur. So make sure that you sign up. I do believe there is a description with a link, but if not, you can go to confidentcreatorcourse.com. Let me make sure I got that right. Yes, Confident Creator Course. That's where you can go sign up for the free challenge. And then you'll be invited to the other 4 live streams I'm going to be doing in my private group. But I thought this is the first one. Why not do it for everybody? So you'll be seeing this too if you're on any of my public pages. Cool. Yes. Just reading your comments. And let me know too, by the way, if you're here, if you're watching, if you're, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, I would love if you left a comment and just said hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and we're going to dive in. And the way that I like to do these live streams is I love for it to be a conversation. What really gets me hyped up and excited is being able to actually feel like I'm talking to you about this topic. I don't want to just preach at you. I want this to be a two-way street where we can talk about the fear that goes behind creating things confidently and putting yourself out there. Okay, and I'm seeing some people saying that they missed the first part. They want the link. So if you're not signed up for the challenge link where you can go sign up is confidentcreatorcourse.com. Confidentcreatorcourse.com. That's where you can go sign up for the free challenge, and you will get access to all of the other live streams that I'm going to be doing throughout the week. So, and I'm seeing people tuning in from all around the country and the world. Let's just give a few shout outs. I see Montana, Portland, Oregon, Oklahoma. Let's see, Connecticut, Orlando, Santa Cruz, beautiful New Jersey, Nebraska, Maryland. We've got like almost all of our states covered. That's amazing. I'm over here in California in Los Angeles. I have to say it's a beautiful sunny day. It's been really nice lately. I even went to the beach this weekend. So it's been a really nice quarantine surprise to have some sunshine the past couple of weeks. All right. Well, let's dig in, because the first topic today from the Create with Confidence Challenge is all about figuring out what is the thing. And I capitalize those. I capital T thing, the thing, because in my world, it's a proper noun, because I see the thing as something that you want to create in your life, something that you want to build inside of your business. But for whatever reason, you are holding yourself back, because oftentimes there will be this confronting fear that comes up when we think about this thing that we want to create. So for you, and what I've noticed from the research research that I've done on this and the calls and coaching I've done with people is that usually the thing that you want to do requires you to put yourself out there in a bigger way. So it's often something like this, a live stream, or it could be starting a podcast or creating a video, doing an Instagram story, could be a webinar, creating an online course, anything where you have to be seen in a bigger way. Maybe publishing your website, your first blog post. It doesn't necessarily have to be on video. It could be really, you have to step back from being seen and actually share your personality, your perspective, your thoughts with the world in a deeper way. And my analysis is that doing this is extremely confronting because we are now putting ourselves out there for the entire world to see us. And being seen can be a big challenge. It can be really scary to think that now people are witnessing who we are in the world and all that comes with that. And there's a lot of fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of what will other people think, fear of losing our identity. There's so many fears that can come up when we start to put ourselves out there or even think about putting ourselves out there. So what happens when we've got this thing that we really want to create and then we're scared? What usually happens is a few things. We might distract ourselves with other tasks. We might take a bunch of online courses on random topics because we think if we're learning something, then we're growing, even if we're continually putting off the thing that we really want to be doing. We might clean our houses. There's a plethora of things that you could do in order to not do the thing that you really want to do. And so if you're here watching right now, you probably, if you're part of the Create with Confidence Challenge, you probably got my first email today. And today's email was all about figuring out what is your thing. What is the thing that you want to do that you're holding yourself back from doing? And this thing can be as big or as small as you want it to be. There is no pressure to pick something gigantic that you're holding yourself back from. It can be something really small, like putting an opt-in form on your website, doing your very first 15-second Instagram story, sending an email to somebody that you want to reach out to. It can be small. It does not have to be this gigantic project. So if you are here and you've read today's email or you've got an idea of what that thing is for you, I would love if you left a comment and let me know, what is the thing that you are holding yourself back from doing? When we speak our ideas and our intentions in the world, then we start to put ourselves on a path where we can begin to align with that intention. So you even just leaving a comment and speaking that intention into the world is a step forward. And if you didn't receive the email today, there's two things. One, you might not be part of the Create with Confidence Challenge. So it's a free 5-day challenge I'm hosting. You can go to Confident Creator Course. I believe it's in the description as well if you take a look at the description. But confidentcreatorcourse.com, and you can sign up for the free challenge and we will make sure that you get the first email as well. And if you are part of the challenge and you did not receive the email, do check your promotions and spam folders just to see if the email's in there. And if it's not, then you can email me at hi@melissagriffin.com and we will make sure that you're part of the challenge. So you got a few options here. And I'm seeing your comments start rolling into, let's see, doing a full launch for an online membership. Yep, that's a big thing. Scheduling and advertising a group coaching program. Yes. Building my business and blog fully. I love this one. I actually still don't know what my thing is. I know vaguely, but nothing specific. Cool. And vague ideas are perfect too. You don't have to necessarily know exactly what you want to do. Even just the terrain of knowing what type of thing you want to do is enough, because then you can start to take a look at and investigate, why am I not doing that type of thing? And then you'll open yourself up to so much possibility of what you're capable of doing. Organizing my contact list and gathering emails, live video, writing a blog. Beautiful. Launching my coaching company, launching my website, my first blog post. Are we noticing any themes here? Are we noticing any themes? Because the theme that I'm noticing is that all of these things require you to step up and step out, to step up into your power and step out of your comfort zone, to be seen in a bigger way. And And a lot of the times when there's something that we want to do that we're just not doing, it's because we have this underlying fear of being seen fully. And so for the rest of the Create with Confidence challenge, we are going to be digging deeper into what's up with that. What's behind that? Why do we do this? And will it ever stop? And the answer personally is no. You will always be confronted throughout your life. Your new levels of terrain that you're working. And so the tools that you're going to be learning in this challenge are going to help you with the thing that you have right now and beyond, just the things that pop up throughout your life and in your business, even after you work through this challenge. So brilliant to all of you for naming your thing. And I also want to speak to the people, because I got a couple of emails today from people who said, I don't know what my thing is. And I'm starting to think that maybe I don't have a thing that I want to do because I just don't know anything. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. If I knew what I wanted to do, then I would feel like I had it more together. And so if you're here right now and you're feeling that way, where you're thinking, well, I don't have a thing because I'm not good enough at anything to have a thing in the first place. So I don't have anything I'm striving for. And I'm seeing some comments on that. And so if you're feeling this way, first of all, you, the reason that you are feeling like you don't have anything, that you don't have anything you're pushing forward, is generally not because you aren't capable and worthy of putting value out into the world. That is, you are valuable just because you exist. Let's just say that right now. But if you're feeling like you don't have something that you're working towards because you're not knowledgeable enough, then I think that that's often because we are layering ourselves with our fear so profoundly, because somewhere in our lives we learned that we weren't worthy, we weren't valuable, often because other people made us feel that way. And we're also disconnected from ourselves, so we don't really know exactly what we want to do. We don't have the clarity of self-connection. And so I think it's day 3 of the Create with Confidence challenge, but we are going to be talking about some self-connection practices, because I do think that if you don't know what you're working towards and you think it's because you just suck and you just don't know things and you're not good enough to have anything to work towards, first of all, I love you. I love you. And I'm so sorry that throughout your life somebody made you feel that way. But we are going to be talking about some practices to help you build that connection with yourself. Because usually what we're trained to do is to disconnect from ourselves and our reality and connect to somebody else's way of thinking about the world and their reality, because that's what we learned throughout our lives. And so throughout this challenge, we're going to be working on, who are you underneath those layers of fear and conditioning, and how can we pull that amazing person out and figure out what path you want to walk down, and then instill the confidence in you so that you don't have to worry about holding yourself back, so that you can actually do those things that matter most to you. And I just want to check out some of your comments, because I'm seeing a lot of comments rolling in. I want to make sure I'm answering any of the questions that are coming up for you. And if, by the way, like I said at the beginning, I love for this to be a conversation. So if you have any questions or comments about this live stream, feel free to leave them in the comments section below, to them throughout while I'm chatting here. And thank you for sharing your comments. I'm really just enamored with all of them already. I love these. Ooh, I love that. And being more intentional. I think being intentional in our lives is really what it's all about. Otherwise, we end up being like swayed side to side to all of these different, kind of like a ping. I think of it as a ping pong machine. Not ping pong. Wait, what's the word? What's the thing where a little ball goes zigzagging across an arcade machine? I don't remember the name of it, but I think of it that way when I'm thinking about when we don't have intentions in our lives, when we're kind of just like bouncing around to what other people's expectations are for us. So I love that you said that you are being more intentional. That's a way to really connect with your truth and add clarity to your life. Mm. Ooh, I love this. Yes. And thank you for saying that. It's fear of failure, procrastination, and probably trying to do too much at one time. Yes. I love awareness around that because I think all those are symptoms of fear. The fear of failure, being a procrastinator, trying to do too much at one time. They are all connected to fear, even the probably trying to do too much at one time, because behind that overwhelmed feeling is often the answer, right? It's like, why are you overwhelming yourself? Why are you trying to do so much? Is it because you're afraid that if you don't, it'll all fall apart? Or reasoning behind overwhelming yourself? So they're all manifestations of different ways. And so what we're creating together is confidence. We are looking at fear and befriending it and then turning it around into something more confident. And I love, so I'm seeing a bunch about like, I very of why you're holding yourself back from the thing. Somebody said loss of privacy and the expectation that I have to be on social media all the time. Someone else said because I don't have the money to invest in my business. And so what I want to also bring to this challenge and to just this live stream today is thinking from a possibility minded perspective. Can you do social media without losing your privacy? What would it look like? I'm curious about what it be. Can you grow a business without needing to invest any money into it or very little money into it? What would that look like? What strategies could you use so that you could grow your company without needing to invest lots of money into it? So thinking about how can we look at our fears in a tunnel vision kind of way, and what can we do to expand the realm of possibility around the things that are holding? If it's money, failure, what can we expand the way that we think about it? And thank you all for telling me what a pinball machine is. I was saying ping pong machine. Oh man. The English language just fails me sometimes, but I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm seeing my fears that no one will join or no one wants to pay for it. So that makes me afraid to fully throw myself into it. And what's so interesting about that too is that the fear that no one will pay for it and no one will join. I'm assuming it's something like an online course or a coaching program. It's like, if you don't create it, then your fear is happening. Nobody's enrolling. Nobody's going to pay for it if you haven't created it and put it out there. So it's like you are creating the circumstances where the fear like grows because you're not doing it. So of course, no one's paying for it. No one's enrolling in it. And we can never actually get through that fear until we put it out there and allow us to see if people pay for it and will join our programs. In one of the days of the Create with Confidence Challenge too, I talk about this concept that I've mentioned on my live streams before, but it's a quote by Betty Spruill, and she says there's failure only feedback. And inside the challenge, I think it is such a profound way to live your life, that there's no failure, only feedback. Because when we fear failure, then we don't go after the things that we want, because then we're afraid if we put it out there, then maybe no one will pay for it and no one will join. And then we're a big fat failure. And we don't want to be a big fat failure. We want to be a success story, but we don't put ourselves out there because we're afraid of being a big fat failure. So you can see this loop that you end up spiraling into. And so then there's no failure, only feedback is a different way of looking at things when they don't go the way that you wanted them to go, because everything is an iteration. Even if you had a launch and it was spectacular and it went beyond your expectations of what it could have done, you're still going to iterate on that launch. You're still going to iterate on the program that you create. It's still just feedback, because not everybody who goes through the program is going to get perfect results. Not everyone is going to align with the content in the most perfect way, even if you have this badass launch. And so you get to constantly iterate on what you're creating. So it's never about success or failure. It's about just iteration, experimenting, putting something out there so that you can get the feedback and be able to rework and create something new. We talk about that maybe in day 3 or 4 of the challenge, but it's definitely something that we cover. Thank you for sharing that. I see your comment. I used to be spunky, say anything, whatever was on my mind type of person, but somewhere along the way, someone in my life made me feel like that was the wrong way to be. Yes. Yeah. And I know I keep saying this, but this is also something we're going to be talking about in the challenge and the subsequent days of content. But yes, all of the fears that we have in our lives are things that we have observed from the people around us, or something that we were. So they're not just like random fears that plopped into your head for no reason. They are fears that live there because you were taught to believe them. And you started to look for evidence throughout your life of why they were true. So your how you used to be spunky, whatever you wanted, and then eventually made you feel wrong for that. Once that happens, that thought of, oh, maybe I should tone it down. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I shouldn't talk so much. Maybe I shouldn't say whatever comes to my mind, because then people are going to think that I'm bad or too much or any of the things. And then you start to look for the evidence. You start to notice when other people tune you out, or when other people say you're too much or whatever. And we find the evidence to support the thoughts and beliefs we already have about ourselves. And once that happens, then we're in this loop of like holding ourselves back, the true essence of who we are, the clarity of who you are, because you're afraid to be made wrong again. You're afraid that who you are isn't good enough. And so what I think confidence is really the undoing of a lot of those stories, because anyone's story about you is their own projection of their reality. It has nothing to do with you. As much as we want to internalize it and make it about us, it actually doesn't have anything to do with us, because one person may see you in your loud, extroverted, say things, spunky personality and be like, oh my gosh, she freaking rules. I want to be around more people like that. And somebody else may experience that same scenario and think, wow, this person is too much. And we're all just reacting from our own projections of what we think is right and wrong and acceptable and unacceptable. And so the person who may think that you're too much is actually probably just somebody who was taught that being spunky and saying whatever you wanted was too much for them because of their own observation experiences in their life. And so we have to remember that when people to tell us who we have to be in the world, it's coming from their own lessons that they've learned and were instilled in them about who they get to be in the world, who they are allowed to be in the world. And so if we don't take it personally, if we start to look at it and think, oh, that's just something they learned, it doesn't have anything to do with me, then we can start to live from our truth instead of our conditioning. And we're going to dig, like I said, more into this throughout the challenge, but I really appreciate you sharing that example, because it's a very beautiful one that I think a lot of people can feel, because it's really at the core of my personality. I learned was too much for somebody else, or not enough for somebody else. And so I learned to water down these other people. Yeah. Fear of success. I see your comment too. Once I get a little bit of traction, I get overwhelmed and worry that I won't be able to sustain it or know what to do next or have enough to keep an audience interested. Right. I would recommend a book. If you fear success, or you notice that when you should get success in any way, you start to sabotage yourself, or you pick a fight with your partner, or whatever it is that you do, some way you self-sabotage, a great book that I recommend is called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's all about upper limits. So he talks about how we all have this self-imposed limit for abundance, joy, success. And when we hit our limit, then we start so that we don't exceed the limit. We start to pick fights with people in our lives. We start to get moody. We procrastinate. We take 10 online courses to distract ourselves. We do all the things. And so what he's talking about is that we'll have this limit that we put on ourselves until we become aware of the limit. And then once you're aware of the limit and you hit it, then you can make a conscious choice to say, oh, I'm at my limit. This is what I learned in my life because of my observations and my experiences, often with my family, that taught me how high I'm able to go. And if I go too high, then the fear kicks in and the self-sabotage and all the things. And so now you can make a conscious choice to go past the limit if that's what you want to create in the world. But until then, we'll keep upperling ourselves and keep holding ourselves back. And this is often, I think, at the root of fear of success. And also the root of the fear of success is, well, you mentioned here, you won't be able to sustain it or know what to do next. And to me, that signals a lack of self-trust, because you got to trust yourself in some capacity in order to maintain anything, right? Like a relationship, a business, a friendship. You have to trust that there's an alchemy happening that isn't just going to fall apart at a moment's notice, that you will know what to do to get to the next step and the next step and the next step. And maybe you make it up along the way, but it doesn't mean that you need to have the whole master plan figured out ahead of. Actually, I think the best way to learn anything is through experience versus just like reading a textbook or something. So by you actually creating some success, you're going to be learning along the way how to sustain it through the experiences you have to get to that success in the first place. But I do think that it goes back to that self-trust of, do I really trust myself enough to sustain? And if not, then take a look at the self-connect and Create with Confidence challenge, because I think it's going to really help you out. Okay, love this question. A common struggle I have is deciding where to focus my attention out of all the things that need to be done. How do you decide what to take on and what to hire someone for? The fear is in to-dos. Yes. So just to quickly answer your question, how do you decide what to take on and what to hire someone for? My philosophy tends to be, at least for your first hires, to hire somebody to do the basic administrative things like responding to emails or whatever other little tasks that you have that you don't really need to be doing, like invoicing, that type of thing. Hiring somebody to handle those, because they are often time-consuming tasks that aren't really getting you much further in your business. So that would be my first hire suggestion. And then beyond that, when I'm hiring somebody, I tend to look at, where am I spending a lot of my time that somebody else could be doing this for me if they were trained and if they were skilled in this area? And what would that free me up to do? Would it free me up to do something more income generating for my company? Would it free me up to make a bigger impact with something that I care a lot more about than these things that I'm spending a lot of time on? So think of it that way. What growth opportunity would you have if you hired somebody, and what would they be able to take off of your plate? Now, what I really want to talk about with your question, you said the common struggle I have is deciding where to focus my attention out of all the things that need to be done. What I've noticed is that when we feel scattered in our business, when we're not sure which direction to go, it's usually not because you need more business advice. Sometimes it may be somebody could give you some advice, just like I told you a little bit about hiring, but I think what we often need instead is more connection to ourselves, more connection to the part of you that already knows what the answer is. Because I do believe that you have the answers inside, but what most of us do throughout our lives is adopt activities and practices to hide from all of the answers we have, to cover them up so that we don't have to look at them. Because we're scared. We're afraid if we know the answers, then that might mean something about certain parts of our life that we don't want to have to look at. So we'll numb out with things like TV, alcohol, even if you don't have like an alcohol problem, even just like having a glass of wine every day, all of those types of things, even things that might seem healthy on the outside, like exercising. If you exercise constantly, perhaps it's a form of avoidance, where we don't want to actually what's underneath the hood. And so what I always recommend to my clients and students is creating some sort of practice in your life, both to self-connect and to sit in stillness. where maybe you're journaling or meditating or going for a walk without your phone or any music. You're just walking. Anything where you can just be still. Be still and know, right? I don't know who said that quote, but it's pretty true. To just be still and know. And it sounds so freaking simple, but I'm all about the simple strategies. I love things that are uncomplicated. So I think there's profoundness in, and so just not thinking that you need necessarily another strategy all the time, but thinking when you don't know the direction to go, when you don't have clarity, when you feel scattered, instead of looking outside yourself for the answer, start to look inside by creating space to look deeper inside, because you will know the answer if you create enough space within you. There's a quote I'm thinking of, but I can't quite remember it. If I do, I'll let you know. Oh, it's a good one. I'll let you know if it comes up. But yeah, creating more. This has been a theme of this call, is just self-connection. How do we connect with that part of ourselves that already knows the answers? And what are we doing now to distract ourselves from not knowing the answers, from not wanting to look deeper into what it would look like to have clarity? Because oftentimes clarity can be scary. We think that clarity is like this great thing and it's going to give us the right direction, but actually sometimes clarity can be freaking a hard pill to swallow, because having clarity can mean that we need to make a choice or move in a direction that feels out of our comfort zone or can be scary. So I think that's a lot of the reason why we do distract. So many amazing. Thank you so much for engaging like this. I love it. Yeah. Yes. Ooh, analysis paralysis. And that's kind of what we were just talking about too. When we feel scattered, when we don't know which direction to go, nobody is going to be able to tell you what direction you should go in. People will give you their opinions. People will want to give you their opinions about what direction you should go in, but nobody knows what direction you should go in except for you. So when you feel analysis paralysis, when you feel scattered beyond belief, when you're like, I don't know what niche to pick, I don't know what project to do, I don't know who to hire, the more that you outsource your decision-making to other people, the less connected you will be to your own truth. So those are opportunities. When we feel like we don't know, or we're confused, or we have all these directions we could go in and we don't know which one to pick, use that as an opportunity to connect more with you, to sit in that, because they'll emerge. Maybe not immediately, but they will. If you just put that intention out there that you want clarity on something, and then you create the stillness and space in your life for that thing to emerge, you create the connection to yourself and your truth for that thing to emerge, then it will. And you just have to be brave enough to listen when the direction does emerge, when the clarity does emerge. Because like I said, sometimes it'll emerge and you'll be like, no thanks. I was good with the easy thing. I don't want to deal with this other thing. I was fearless in pursuing creative endeavors as a teenager until my parents told me I should pursue more realistic career paths. Yep. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And that just speaks to the fact that I think all of us have gotten messages about who we have to be in the world. And like I said before, it's all just coming from their own projection. So it's not something to judge other people on, or our parents, or think like, wow, you really effed me up. Thanks a lot. Maybe you go through that phase for a little while, but we're all just figuring it out, even the people that instilled those messages inside of you. And so I think the greatest thing that you can do, especially for the people who instilled messages in you that you're too much, that you need to play small, that you need to follow a realistic path, that you need to deny your dreams, the people who are saying those things to you are the people who did those things themselves. And so you get to break the chain. You get to break the chain of needing to follow a real career path, or breaking the chain of living in fear or playing small. And you actually get to be the one to decide how you want to live, instead of just following this programming that was put into you that isn't yours and isn't even theirs for the people who instilled those messages inside of you. For everyone who's put in the big into the comments. I see somebody who put a 4-minute summary to the Big Leap. This is one of those books that I know some books can get repetitive, but this is one of those books that I do highly recommend actually reading, because there's a lot of things that are inside the book that you want some time to assimilate inside of you, versus like reading a summary and then you'll get the picture, but it won't land fully in you, I don't think. And it's an easy read too. He's an easy to read writer. Ooh, I love this question. The question is, how do I create trust in myself? Yeah, how do you create trust in yourself? Because we've been talking about this as a solution to feeling scattered, confused, lacking clarity, lacking direction, not knowing what steps to take. How do you create trust in yourself? Little by little. I think the first step is choosing a practice, something small that you can do on a consistent basis, usually daily, like a commitment that you keep to yourself. So maybe your commitment is that you will exercise for 5 minutes a day. And like I said, small. Maybe you exercise longer than that, but if you make it too long, then you break it, then you're going to start to feel like you don't trust yourself again. Maybe you go for a walk for 10 minutes. Maybe you journal for 2 minutes a day. Literally, like small, because the point isn't to do these gigantic things. It's to keep the commitment to you. That's the whole point. Because if you think about a relationship you have with another person, not with yourself, let's say you have a relationship with a friend or a partner, and they constantly break commitments to you. They constantly say they're going to do something and then they don't. What feeling would that instill in you? It would probably instill this feeling of mistrust. What if they didn't even just break a commitment, but they like betrayed the commitment in a bigger way by going against what that whole commitment was about or what they said they were going to do? That would create severe mistrust. And so first, we have a relationship with who we are too. And so you get to take a look at that and decide, I've been breaking commitments to myself that I said were important to me. Have I been betraying my clarity? Have I been betraying my truth for some reason, for acceptance or conditioning or all the things? And the more that we do that in our life, consistently we do that, the more that we lack trust inside of ourselves. And when we don't have trust inside of ourselves, then it becomes difficult to make decisions that take us closer to our truth, that take us in the direction that we really want to be going in. And then we start to adopt patterns like people pleasing or self-abandonment and things like that, because we don't trust ourselves. So we give away our power in ourselves for other people and what other people will think of us and want us to be and do and all of that. So how do you create more trust in yourself is, number one, like I was saying, adopt a very small commitment that you can start doing on a daily basis to just rebuild that trust with yourself. Because let's say you had a relationship with somebody else and they consistently broke your trust because they didn't follow the commitments that they had. Well, how would you rebuild the trust with them? You would have commitments that they actually followed through on a regular basis, and you would slowly over time begin to trust them again. And it's the same way with ourselves. It's slowly over time. So don't expect that you're going to 2 minutes and suddenly feel this like total self-trust and confidence that you get to build like a muscle. So that stuff is just creating some sort of daily practice where you can start to commit and trust yourself. And you can add more of these as you get used to them. So maybe you do journaling one day, or for a few, you get used to really build the muscle of staying true to that commitment. And then maybe you add on another little self-trust mechanism that you can add to your journaling practice to just continue following your truth. And then aside from that, just going back to what we've been talking about is any practice that you can do to connect with you versus connecting else, connecting with other people's truths, others, the media, social media, me, right? Anything. So the more that you can build practices to connect with you, like journaling, meditating, dancing, walking, anything that just involves you being with you, as opposed to you outsourcing your thoughts and your world to other people, that will build self-trust too. Yeah, most of the time I try to be too much of a perfectionist, causing more procrastination. Any thoughts about this? Yes. Yeah. Ooh, and I see another comment. Yes, avoidance, but why? But why? So avoidance and being a perfectionist and causing procrastination, I think that they stem from feeling like you at some point in your life in order to be good. And so I think it's helpful to know where that comes from. I don't think you have to know exactly like who instilled that in you in order to work through it, but it can be helpful. So I would take a look back and ask yourself, where did I learn that I had to be perfect? Who was critical of me the way I was? Who made me think that I had to do things their way in order for me to be acceptable or loved or worthy? Because that can all speak to those feelings of perfectionism. And so how do we get over feeling like we have to be perfect in order to be loved? Oh, there was a quote that I wrote down yesterday or a couple days ago. I want to read it to you because it's really good and it's about perfectionism. It's from my friend Allison Bird. She said, be around people who inspire you to live in your purpose. Be around people who inspire you to live in your purpose, not your perfection. And I really do think that that is a part of moving through feelings of being perfect, needing to be a perfectionist. Because when we're trying to be a perfectionist, we're making it about us. And we're not making it about a purpose or a mission or other people. It's about, oh my God, how are people going to look at me if I put this thing out there? And so instead of it that way of like, oh my, put it out there, it has to be perfect for other people to value me, think of how can I live in my purpose instead of my perfection? What do I actually want to help people with? And if I put it out there in the good enough state, is it going to help people? Probably. So if you can live in your service instead of your perfection, then you're going to make a bigger impact in the world. You're going to live inside of that mission in a bigger way versus if you hold yourself back because you think it has to be perfect before you can put it out there. And I do recognize that my dog is looking. I'm like trying to, there we go. Oh man, he's looking real cute back there. We're trying to be perfect. We're forgetting that we're in service of our mission. So what is your mission? What is your why? Why are you on this planet? Why are you doing what you do? Why does it matter to you so much? Why do you want to help people with this thing? Why do you want to help the world? And the more that you connect to that part of yourself, the more the perfectionism starts to fade away because we're focusing more on the impact versus what we think we have to be in order to be valued. You're going to be valued regardless if you help people. And just because you freaking exist, you are valuable because you exist. But people don't care about the perfect version of you. They just want those tidbits that are going to help them. Just reading through some of your comments right now. And this is a really intriguing comment to me. I'm afraid of myself because I know what I want in life and what I want to achieve, but because I get emotionally attached to whatever I get involved with, I fear my emotions will get the better of me and I somehow lose hope and vision of the things that matter. Wow. Thank you for sharing that so openly. That's just beautifully hearing from your comment say, I want in life, I know what I want to achieve. I get emotionally attached to whatever I get involved with. And I fear my emotions will get the better of me. So to me, this signals a couple things. And by the way, I'm just going off of your one comment. So this seems like a bigger conversation, but these are just some little things. Take them or leave them, see how they land for you. One thing is, how were you taught to emotions as a kid? Did somebody sit down with you and say, what's going on in there? Let's talk about it. Let's see how you feel. Or did somebody say, go to your room, stop crying, man up, figure it out? Did they kind of tamp down your emotions, or did they allow them to be something that you can just talk and work through and feel? Because if we are afraid of our emotions, then to me, that signals that we don't know how to process them. And so when they come up, it's like, it's overwhelming. I don't know what to do with this. I've never sat with anger. I've never sat with fear. I've never sat with sadness. And so then the first thing I would say is look up some practices and look up more information about processing emotions and feeling your emotions instead of like feeling them, because what will happen is we'll like feel them a little bit and then we'll like, what's the word? like hole it all up inside of us. And then we're like a rocket about to launch, explode or something. And we don't know how to work through them and let them release. So working on processing the emotions instead of letting them just sit and simmer and explode inside of you. That's one. And then the other would be when you say I get emotionally attached to whatever I get involved with, to me, that feels like a codependent way of looking at really anything. You didn't even mention necessarily business, but I get involved with maybe relationships, friendships, and emotional connection. That's beautiful. And there's nothing about an emotional connection that would throw you off course, but it's when we get attached. So what happens with these kind of codependent ways of living is that if you think of, you have like 100% energy of your sense of self, and then the other thing, a person, a business, an idea has 100% energy of itself. And so what happens is you'll start to interact with this other thing, and then you'll start to get emotionally attached and build some codependency habits. And that 100% energy that you had that created self, now you're putting it into this other entity. And this entity now has this part of you that used to belong to you. And now you're operating from this like 25% state of self. And when we're at that place where we no longer have that deeper connection to us because we've self-abandoned, we've given away pieces of who we are to this person or business or idea or project, then it starts to feel like if something happens to this project or person, then we fall apart because we've only got 25% energy left. And so we don't know how to manage that when it happens. And so that can be from a lot of things, but I would look up a little about codependency as well, and just taking a look at how can I sit with my emotions instead of letting them take me over. How can I sit with myself and be in me instead of outsourcing my worth to another person or project or something like that? A great book one of my friends wrote is called Choose Wonder Over Worry. And she talks a lot about all of the different emotions that we can, and how we can befriend our emotions and understand them and sit with them instead of shoving them away and trying to get rid of them and trying not to feel them. So her book is called Choose Wonder Over Worry, and her name's Amber Ray. And it's a wonderful book about just feeling how you feel, and not being afraid to feel the way that you feel, because that can cause its own host of reactions and problems. Yeah. Thanks for saying that too. We need to tap into our emotional intelligence and become self-aware and learn to self-manage and regulate. Yes. Right. And easier said than done. It's a process. So know that you learned these things over a period of time, probably quite a while in your life. And so know that it will be a process to release them fully, and they might be with you, but it doesn't mean it has to be hard the whole time you're releasing them. It just means to give yourself some grace as you're learning to regulate and release and connect with your own self-awareness in a deeper way. Mm. Mm. You all are so great. I just love reading all of these comments. I love that. Mm. And last question here. And by the way, I'm going to be doing these live streams every day this week. So we've got 4 more days to hang out together. If you just hopped on or you want more of this conversation, don't worry, we've got 4 more days. But this is the only one I'm doing on my public pages, my public Facebook page and my YouTube channel. So if you're watching on one of those and you haven't signed up for the challenge yet, do go to confidentcreatorcourse.com. It's totally free. And you can sign up there for the Create with Confidence Challenge. So confidentcreatorcourse.com. I believe it's in the description. Should be, I hope so. And you can go there, sign up, and you will get access to the other live streams I'm going to be doing in our private group. So those will be happening Tuesday through Friday for the rest of the week. But I want to just touch on this last question here because I think it's a really good one. How to stop full-on creative blocks. I literally can't think anymore. Oh, yes. How do I stop those full-on creative blocks when I don't know how to create anything? I sit down to write a blog post and I feel numb. I don't know what direction to go in. There's so many ways that creative blocks can take place. So one, I love that you are acknowledging it instead of just sitting at your desk and being like, why can't I write? I suck. I'm going to throw in the towel. Because we all go through creative blocks. Going back to something that we were talking about earlier is adding more stillness to your life, because I think that creative blocks happen because we are misbalancing the weight of our connection to ourself and inspiration from other things, the world, other people, social media. The balance is out of alignment. And so when we feel creatively blocked, it's often because like we've got this like reservoir inside of us for creative energy. And so are we filling that creative energy with 90% of what we see other people doing and their posts on social media and their email newsletters and their live streams and their courses and ads and all the things and Netflix and books and podcasts? Are we filling that creative reservoir with tons of input from other sources? Or are we filling the creative reservoir with our own creative energy? Because that is going to help us to connect more deeply to our own creativity. So I would just take a look at that. How much of my 100% reservoir inside of me is being filled by input from other people or from myself? And I don't think it's bad to have input from other sources, from other people, from nature, from podcasts. But I think that you will create your best work when the input is like 15 to 20% and your input is like 80%. And that you're very intentional about when and what you consume. That you don't have to consume everything that other people create or that you see out there in the world, because you know that it might throw you off course, or it might make you think, well, oh gosh, they did that in their podcast. Maybe I should create a podcast like that too. And then you start to get all in a tizzy about what to create. And you sit down to create your podcast and then you feel just overwhelmed or scattered and you feel blocked because suddenly you've got all these other sources of input and inspiration inside of you, and it blocks your own voice. So it's really about managing where we're taking our input from, how we're filling that creative reservoir inside of us, so that we get to be the dominant voice. We get to sit in that stillness and spaciousness and connect to ourselves on a daily basis to see what's inside of us, because your best creative ideas are probably not things you're going to find on social media. They're going to be things where you're going to be going for a walk and something will just bloop, like download inside of your mind. And you'll think, oh my gosh, that's my next idea. That's the next podcast I want to create. That's the next course that I'm going to do. But it doesn't happen from scrolling through social media or listening to podcasts. It does to an extent. Inspiration can be helpful in that sense, but I think the real answers are just alchemized after we get a little inspiration from other sources, and then it like creates this chemical reaction inside of us with our own self connection, our own creative energy. And that's where our genius comes from. So just managing the balance between those two things. But I hope that helps answer your question a little bit. And thank you for all of your questions today. Y'all are so amazing. I just really appreciate your interaction, your questions, your vulnerable thoughts and opinions on this topic. I think it's such an important topic. It's basically our life. It's our life. How will we choose to live? Do we want to live in the fear of all the things, failure, what other people will think, rejection, success, overwhelm? Or do we want to live a life that's true to who we are, that is true to what we want to create in the world, that speaks to our mission instead of our fear? And so the Create with Confidence Challenge is all about doing that. And that's why I created it. Totally free. You can go to confidentcreatorcourse.com to register if you haven't yet. But that's why I created this challenge, is because I see so many people who have amazing things inside of them that if only they just got past the fear of putting them out in the world, they would be able to shake this in such a beautiful way. So let's shake the planet. Let's get our groove on together. And yes, these live streams, so long as you are signed up for the challenge, are going to be happening at 2 p.m. Pacific every day this week, Monday through Friday. So make sure you're in the challenge, and you'll get a daily email with some content, some things for you to learn and think about, as well as an action item for you to take action on. This is a challenge. So we're taking action to those daily emails, where you can hop over to the private Facebook group, and that's where I'll be doing the live streams from here on out. So just make sure to click that link inside the email, or just go into the Facebook group for the challenge. Awesome. I love you so much. I love you. And I'm so grateful that you are here today. And I can't wait to chat with you the other days of this challenge and just see what's in there that we can pull out and put into the world in a bigger and more amazing way. So I appreciate you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.